Continuing our conversation with our Higher Education Minister, Naledi Pandor. Again, Minister, thank you very, very much for being with us here on Morning Live. I want to dig a little bit into this fee-free higher education, because all of us, I think, are still a little bit confused as to how it would work, and perhaps you can help us. Let's talk about the current NSFAS beneficiary who has got funding. What happens now? Are the loans automatically converted into bursaries for these deserving students?
Well, what's going to happen is that remember the introduction of the scheme is at first year level. So first year students will receive the grant, they won't pay fees, there's no loan component, and they'll be supported with respect to accommodation allowance as well as allowance for other materials such as books, etc. But this fee-free is at the first year level. And we have said it will be introduced incrementally over the next 5 years. So for continuing students, they will receive the support from NSFAS as per previous model support, while we work out the full funding scheme of how we deal with the differential components. Yeah. So we are addressing the model and ensuring that for young people who come from backgrounds where they cannot afford paying for higher education or indeed technical and vocational college, that they will essentially, when they conclude their studies, would be fee-free students.
So as it stands right now, those students that have borrowed and have got loans from NSFAS, that still has to be paid back. They do not qualify for this fee-free higher education.
That's
it is
right.
Only
That's
first
as the
years.
model stands at the moment.
Only the first years of 2018 are the ones that
this
are
is
beneficial.
for first year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
What I want to ask you now, and this I found...
And then, of course, all students benefit from, up to the category stated, from any fee increment that has been introduced by the university.
Now, these students that qualify...
Depending on income.
These students that qualify for the fee-free higher education, what happens to them? I mean, say, for example, I go to university now, I qualify all on the state, you pay for everything, my accommodation, my food, I get my degree and my qualification, and then I decide, wow, I've got an amazing opportunity to go and work in London, and I take all my skills and I leave the country. What happens then? I mean, am I allowed to do that, or would I be obliged to at least work for the state? Perhaps if I'm studying teaching, go and teach for a few years. I mean, what do I owe the South African government for what they've given me?
Well, we have discussed the agreement, the grant agreement for students who successfully apply for support through the National Student Financial Aid Scheme. And there is a set of proposals that we're considering. We had agreed previously that there should be some conditionalities, that you would work in South Africa, etc. But I think the detail of those conditions is still being worked on.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, obviously, there's still a lot that needs to be ironed out with regard to the fee-free higher education. And have you walked into a little bit of a whirlwind, because this is a difficult thing to have to implement within the first couple of weeks that you've been there?
No, absolutely. It's a really challenging situation, but I think I'm not walking into an empty space. We've had ministers doing a very good job in this department. We have some excellent officials, so I'm hoping that we'll continue with a good record. I think this is a big challenge, and we've got to make sure that we have the capacity to execute it. So we are keeping our eye on the ball. We're in constant contact with the National Student Financial Aid Scheme. Our systems are being remodeled. We're improving on a daily basis. And I think there's a commitment out there to ensure that we succeed.
Yeah. Minister, just again a question. There's been a lot of confusion as to the numbers of students that have benefited this year. There's a number of 2,000 doing the rounds. Have you managed to assimilate this? Is this the accurate number of those students that are getting fee-free higher education in South Africa this year for the 2018 year?
No, certainly that figure is not right. But Leanne, I don't have the figures in front of me. I certainly can send them through to you as soon as I'm out of the studio.
Okay, good.
But certainly that 2,000 is totally inaccurate.
Yeah,
it's
much
thousands of young people.
So much higher than that, obviously, is what we're dealing with.
Absolutely.
Minister, there's a lot of tweets I'm getting through here. Something about Unisa. Do you know what's happening at Unisa at the moment? Some two tweets saying, can you ask the Minister, we as students at Unisa are not finalised registration. We're in big trouble. Another one that's coming through. What's happening? Why is Unisa, NSFAS is treating Unisa as a less of a university, no IntelliCards or food or transport or accommodation? Why? Are you aware of any problems at Unisa right now, particularly with registration?
I'm aware that there have been problems with registration. Yesterday I got a report that there have been system problems with their electronic system and the interconnection with the National Student Financial Aid Scheme. I was assured by the Director General that that technology complaint is being sorted out and the matter should be resolved. I also was told that the Vice Chancellor has been in discussion with the SRC to explain the nature of the delays and the problems that they're confronted with.
Okay.
And we're working with them to iron out those glitches.
Yeah. All right. So
this is a new system and there would be teething problems, but as soon as we identify problems, we must work with speed to address them. And this is what I've made clear to my officials.
Minister, I want to tackle an issue before we wrap up the conversation. I've got a few minutes with you. And I know it doesn't fall into your domain, but at the end of the day, this spills over into your domain. The Department of Basic Education proposing to lower the pass mark in senior phase, where basically the changes will require pupils to get 40% in their mother tongue and 3 other subjects, and for the first time achieving 30% in 3 subjects in the grades would see learners moving on to the next grade. I mean, this is just the most, in my opinion, frightening move. What we're doing is we're trying to ensure that we get the numbers to go through the schooling system. We're not worried about the quality of pupils we're sending out, but the quantity. And this must worry you, because at the end of the day, these are the pupils that you are now inheriting. I mean, what do you feel about this the drop in the pass rate? I know there's still 21 days to comment, but we've seen this go through before, and there's a big possibility it'll go through again. What are your views in lowering the pass rate?
Well, Leanne, I think it would be good to invite Minister Mochega. I would like to look at the detail of what is proposed, and if indeed a lowering which reduces the quality that all of us seek to achieve through education would be worrying. But I've not known Minister Mochega to be a person who promotes poor quality. So I really would want to have a fuller briefing on exactly what has been proposed and the reasons for it.
Yeah. I mean, you know, those numbers being thrown around, you know, these are obviously not pupils that you're going to inherit, because in higher education, not everybody gets into universities. And certainly if they do, this is that wastage of money we're talking about. And again, I get back to fee-free higher education. What happens if you do qualify, but you fail? And that money you've spent on this student, how do you ever get it back? You know, how do you determine who's a deserving student or not? And are you obliged to finish your degree? And if you don't, how do you, as a department, get that money back from the student?
Well, these are the commitments that we make to young people and to the support that we provide to them. However, we're very clear that the funding is for academically deserving students. There must be a commitment to succeeding in university if you are to receive continued funding. So the academic criteria is something that has been agreed as part of the grant system, certainly in higher education and training. So I think young people entering this phase of education would know that there are admission criteria, the expectations of how you'd have performed at the school level. That won't change in terms of how we assess your suitability to enter a specific program. So it should be very clear that we expect young people who enter the system to succeed, and we also want the sector to support young people to succeed, because we have had very serious dropout problems, and these must be addressed.
Minister, we thank you for your precious time. We really do appreciate it, and I'm sure we'll have you back again as a guest as soon as things do get ironed out and becomes more clear as to how all of this will be working. Naledi Pandor, our new Higher Education Minister, in our parliamentary studios. Thanks for joining us.